All right, welcome to the Your Illini Nation pregame show. I'm Bret Beherns. Craig Choate and Jeremy Werner will join us here momentarily live from Memorial Stadium as Illinois is hosting number 6 Wisconsin for homecoming. More than 100 years of homecoming, where it all started at Illinois, and Illinois trying to get back on the right track after a 4-game losing streak. A win today would certainly be a big confidence booster, and the marquee win for Lovie Smith, still looking for that in his 4th season. All right, we're live on Facebook, also the WCIA 3 mobile app. Hope you're joining us there as we get ready for kickoff 1 hour from right now as Illinois takes on Wisconsin. Let's go live to Memorial Stadium. Craig Choate standing by with Jeremy Werner, and we've got some news, some breaking news there on who's going to play quarterback today, Craig.
Yeah, we're going to get right to it. Just a short while ago, the Illini announced that Brandon Peters is back. He will play today for the Illini at quarterback. He misses only 1 game, and he's back in action.
Yeah, not a big surprise. I mean, we saw this last year when A.J. Bush got hurt. M.J. Rivers came in and played solid. Fans are discussing, is there a quarterback controversy for Illinois? Even Lovie Smith said earlier this week, Brandon is our starting quarterback, so if he's available, he will play. So he will start. But what I'm interested in, how long is the leash? We saw with A.J. Bush last year when he got hurt, played against Wisconsin. The leash wasn't very long. M.J. Rivers came into that game, and then M.J. Rivers started the next game. So that'll be interesting after Matt Robinson gave him some life last week.
Yeah, so not only is Peters in, but they already ruled Isaiah Williams out. We've seen bits and pieces of him this year, and it's been obvious he's not ready. So he probably wasn't going to play today anyways, but to not have him takes away some depth from the quarterback room.
Yeah, Illinois hasn't said what the injury is, but he had some leg injuries early in the training camp that held him back. Had another injury in the season then. It looked like a shoulder. He came off the field, the shoulder was slumping a little bit, so that's just speculation on my part. But injuries have really derailed him his freshman year and kept him from playing, which is a bummer for Illinois fans that want to see what the future looks like. But that was a big question with Isaiah Williams, and could he play quarterback? Could he stand up durability-wise with how small he is? But with Peters playing, with Robinson available, I don't know if you wanted to put Isaiah Williams against this Wisconsin defense anyway. And to be honest with you, the way they've used him, he hasn't been very effective. So has he helped Illinois? Hasn't been the case so far.
Yeah, so the 2 crown jewels of this recruiting class, Isaiah Williams banged up and Marquez Beeson, of course, the ACL injury. So that 2019 class hasn't put out on the field yet. But like you said, Brett, it is homecoming. The Illini donning those all-gray uniforms.
We're
wearing our gray uniforms as well.
Don't think we planned it.
No, we did not plan this. But we're going to head back to studio now to start our game coverage.
All right, Craig, thanks so much, and we'll dive deep into that quarterback situation here. Is there a quarterback controversy? I guess that's the thing now, and how long is Brandon Peters' leash if Matt Robinson will play today or not? We'll have to see. Overall, Matt Robinson been pretty good this season, all things considered, especially throwing the touchdown passes, has had several interceptions along the way. Illinois is going to have to contend against this Wisconsin defense, which has the top-ranked scoring defense in the country. They're allowing less than 5 points per game. And so can Brandon Peters try and ignite this offense? He's been gone after he got hurt at Minnesota, had that concussion. He's been out, missed last week. Matt Robinson earned his first career start last weekend against Michigan. Went for 192 yards, completing 16 passes, and he was actually okay, I thought. Overall, provided a little bit of a spark, especially in the quarterback run game. But Brandon Peters will get the start today, and even if Matt Robinson does play, he says he's a lot more confident, and his teammates are a lot more confident in him this season.
Matt is able to scramble and like he threw that 23-yard touchdown pass, bam, that breaks stuff open. We're like, okay, heck yeah. You need a catalyst in order for that to kind of all come alive. And I mean, Matt was able to find me and help that to happen.
Well, I mean, every game obviously puts more confidence in him as well. You know, the more he goes out and he has success and can make plays and do some of the things he did particularly against a highly rated defense, it's got to give him confidence. Gives our team confidence as well.
All right, so the big question in my eyes, Craig and Jeremy, is how long is Brandon Peters' leash, especially in that first half if things go awry? Do you think we'll see Matt Robinson today under center for the Orange and Blue?
Yeah, like Jeremy said in that opening statement, how long is Peters' leash? If he comes in and struggled, Matt played fairly well last week, bringing the Illini back from that 28-point deficit, and that was the first time we'd actually seen Matt Robinson. He'd been in bits and pieces, but this was the first extended look. So a little more in-depth, how long or what has to happen for Peters to see the field?
Well, Peters' the last couple games that he's played is 14 of 32 passing, a couple interceptions, 1 touchdown, barely over 100 yards. So if that continues in the first half and Illinois gets down big, why not go to Matt Robinson? I know Brandon Peters is the guy that they think gives them the best chance, and he's earned the starting job. But at some point, you got to show it on the field against Big Ten competition. And I'll give this. One thing about Brandon Peters is it feels like he's a little skittish back there. It feels like he's not fully confident or fully comfortable. Matt Robinson brings a lot of confidence. He brings some swagger. Richie Pettibone said earlier in the week that he plays like a little Brett Favre out there, which is obviously a very high praise. But and Joshie Mator-Bebe said everyone loves Matt Robinson, that he's not scared. And I think you can question, did Brandon Peters look scared at times against Big Ten opponents? I think that's been the case. Well, Matt Robinson isn't. Now, he needs to take care of the ball. The 2 sacks and strip sacks really hurt Illinois, really doomed them for any opportunity. We've seen during training camp, his big issue is turnovers. He puts the ball in harm's way. He's gotten away with a couple passes too, but he does bring more of a running element. He brings a little bit of confidence to them. It feels a little like Riley O'Toole a little bit. I've got to see more of it. But I do think he brings a little intrinsic value, maybe some leadership skills that maybe Brandon Peters doesn't. So I'm very interested. How long is that leash for Brandon Peters? Of course, I think Brandon Peters, his high end, gives Illinois a better chance to win against Big Ten opponents, but we've seen that low end gets a little too low for him.
Yeah, and you got to think how much this conversation is different if Matt doesn't fumble those last 2 drives. Because if he doesn't fumble and they go down and score a couple more touchdowns on Michigan
and win,
who knows if Brandon even comes back this early? I mean, you might go with Matt to play today against Wisconsin, but Matt Robinson, like you said, he can't hang on to the ball. His biggest deficiency.
During training camp, Rod Smith said all of his statistics were similar to what A.J. Bush did last year during training camp, and A.J. won the job handily. But the only problem was Matt had double the interceptions that A.J. Bush had during training camp. So take away those, and he's the better quarterback on this team, but that's a huge part of being a quarterback is taking care of the ball. Of course, Brandon Peters himself, who took care of the ball during training camp, has not taken care of the ball. He's lost a couple fumbles. He's thrown 4 interceptions. That's a huge key for Illinois. They got to stay on the field, especially with this Wisconsin offense.
Yeah, they had a lot of momentum there in that second half, and then those 2 fumbles kind of put the game to bed last week and maybe lost some of that confidence. If they can get that confidence back early in this game, they might be able to put up some points on this Wisconsin team.
Yeah, and that's the key early in this game. I heard a stat earlier today on the BTN tailgate, which is live outside Memorial Stadium right now, and they were talking about how good this Wisconsin team has been in the first half, outscoring opponents 150 to less than 10 in the first half. So if the Illini can somehow come out and get a good start, unlike last week against Michigan when they got down 28-0 and Michigan barely had to throw the ball, Wisconsin's running game is certainly better than Michigan's. And so it'll be interesting to see how they get down today. And if they do get down, what will this team do? How will they respond? We're live on Facebook, and thanks for tuning in on there as well. James from Carefree, Arizona. James, thanks for the message here and tuning in on the Illini Nation pregame show on Facebook. Carefree, Arizona sounds pretty good right now. I'm sure it's a little bit warmer than it is here, but should have a great day for football out at Memorial Stadium with temps in the 50s by game time. I'm no meteorologist. I just act like one on TV. Not really. Okay. But we'll see what Illinois can do today on a great day and a homecoming crowd there to see it. I don't know if we'll get more than 40,000. I think Wisconsin will certainly travel pretty well. Maybe not Nebraska travel like they did when they brought 10,000+ fans here, but I think there'll be quite a few Red Badger fans in the crowd as well. That Illinois contingent we'll have to see, coming off 4 straight losses. All right, that confidence like we talked about, I think that's a big thing, and Illinois certainly has to gain some confidence from coming back and scoring 25 unanswered points last week to cut that game to 3 against the 16th ranked Michigan Wolverines. And that's what Lovie Smith wanted to talk about on Monday during his weekly press conference, saying he's taking a lot from that heading into this week's game against Wisconsin.
We can, and we did. Most of our emphasis today was on that. There's a lot of negatives that you can read for. You can go in that black hole if you like. But for us, I want the guys to see, what we can be.
It's just talk, you know what I mean? And success really silences the critic. So when you start to win, then, people stop asking those types of questions. Like I said, I don't know. I'm just like you guys. I don't know why. You know, I just feel it, and I know that there is a reason, but I just don't know what that reason is.
All right, so it's all talk. That's what Josh Bebe says. They have to put it on the field at some point. Are they going to turn the corner as we start the second half of the season? Craig and Jeremy, how much confidence do you guys have that Illinois can at least compete for a half today? And if they do get down, how tough is it going to be to come back from a Badger team that just milks that clock? See what I did there? Milks the clock, Craig, and really kind of controls the tempo of the game.
How confident am I? If we're going to be honest, not very. This is the hardest. This is the best team Illinois has played this season, but
and will play
this season. Yeah, because they don't play Ohio State, so definitely the toughest test this year. But a good soundbite there from Josh Bebe. First of all, he might be my favorite. Him and Awale Batiku might be my favorite guys to talk to on this team.
He is #1 in my interview rankings. There's some good ones on the Illinois football team, but he's #1.
Yeah, he came in. He's smart. He's insightful. He knows what he's talking about. But like he said, it's all talk. All those positives from last week are all talk until they put those positives into some wins.
Yeah, let's be honest with you. Year 4 shouldn't be the year for moral victories.
You're right.
And that game against Michigan, I think you could have taken a moral victory if you're 3-3 after it, or if you're 4-2 after it. You can say, hey, we can play with anybody. We just got to clean up some mistakes. That Eastern Michigan game just completely changed the outlook of the season. You had a lead on Nebraska, can't finish it out. You had a chance to take a lead on Michigan, weren't able to do it. You went up to Minnesota, a team you beat last year, and got crushed. So all those things, take away the moral victories, they need to win football games. So even though there are certain small things Illinois is getting better at, Lovie Smith told us, Josh Whitman told us, these players told us, this is going to be a markedly better team. Right now, you can look for microscopic stats that might tell it's better. I don't know if this year's team beats last year's team, and that's a huge issue moving forward. So beating a team like this would do that. I don't know if that'll happen, but more importantly, it's can you beat Purdue next week? Can you beat Rutgers handily? Can you go and beat Northwestern, who's not very good? Can you go beat them? That's how you show progress.
Yeah, so to show some confidence in this program, you do need to hang with this team today. You can't get blown out, but you do need to win 2, probably 3 of those Northwestern, Rutgers, and Purdue games to show fans that, okay, we are making progress.
Or upset Michigan State, something like that, you know what I mean? But yes,
Iowa.
You can't have 63-0 left.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have that against Iowa. You can't get blown out by 30-something points. So if you want to look at the end of the year and Josh Whitman wants to make the case for keeping Lovie Smith, to me, be 5-7 or better, and being competitive in games like this to say, hey, we are right there. This has a 2006 feel or 2000 feel where we're close to turning the corner. But so far through 6 games, we haven't seen enough of it.
Yeah, the defense has to improve, especially, and it's not going to be easy today, going against Jonathan Taylor, one of, if not the best running back in the country. Brett, I think I saw the ESPN Heisman watch that he's #4 right now in Heisman rankings, so going to be a tough test stopping Jonathan Taylor today.
No doubt about it, Craig. He leads the Badgers' rushing attack. They're averaging nearly 250 yards per game. I'm going to take the over on Jeremy's over and under as he does on the Jeremy Werner show on them hitting that mark and beyond. He's currently 3rd in the nation in rushing with 825 yards, Jonathan Taylor is. Combine that with the fact that Whiskey's defense tops in the Big Ten. Not a good combination for the Illini, who are looking to snap that 4-game losing streak, and slowing Jonathan Taylor down has to be #1 priority for Lovie Smith's defense.
You start with Taylor. I mean, he's arguably the best player in college football. It's a good challenge. You have to be sound. You have to first like contact. We know what we're going to see. It's not going to be a finesse game this week. Need a big boy pads on, and that's what we plan on putting on.
Big boy pads on. That's what Lovie Smith says, and that's what the Illini are going to need today as we count down to kickoff here on the Your Illini Nation pregame show. We are less than an hour away from the start of Illinois' homecoming against #6 Wisconsin. And can this defense even contain Jonathan Taylor? Craig and Jeremy, I mean, it has to start there, right? Illinois' defense, it hasn't shown it, so what gives you any confidence today that they'll be able to do it?
Yeah. What's the saying? Jonathan Taylor's the straw that stirs the Wisconsin drink. We are 46.5 minutes from kickoff here. Brett said that he's going to take the over on your over-under for Jonathan Taylor. What do you think?
Was that 4.5 touchdowns? Is that what that was?
I think it was the yards.
Oh, yards. I don't know if you could put a limit on that. I think the limit will be how long he actually plays.
Yeah.
This is probably a good day for his Heisman candidacy. And I want to get the numbers correctly here. That Illinois football rushing offense or rushing defense, Illinois' Big Ten opponents, 3 Big Ten opponents, they're running 68% of the time. and they're averaging 324 rushing yards per game. Only one other Big Ten team is allowing more than 200 rushing yards per game against conference opponents, and that's Nebraska. Even Rutgers is allowing fewer than 200 rushing yards per game. This has been the bane of the Lovie-Smith era, is stopping the run. They're not able to do it. They're not good enough up front. They're not disrupting things enough. They're missing a lot of tackles on the back half. So this looks like a nightmare scenario going against one of the best rushing attacks in the country. And Wisconsin's offensive line isn't as good as it was last year, but it's still great. And Jonathan Taylor's only gotten better. He's shiftier. He's not as stiff. He's got track speed. He's got big size. Stanley Green, the safeties, I think are going to a lot of action today, and they better make their tackles because this kid can explode for one at any time.
And at quarterback, they don't have Hornibrook anymore. They go with Jack Cohn, who came in as a heralded recruit at quarterback, so they can throw the ball there. Bret asked me before I left if they throw the ball 10 times. I think they can if they want to. One, because they have the talent and the players to, but two, because the Illinois secondary is also banged up and weak.
Minnesota's a great passing team. They threw 17 times because they knew they didn't have to.
They didn't have to,
Right? And that's a bad rushing attack that ran all over Illinois. Michigan threw 22 times, and it was way too much, Jim Harbaugh. He kind of kept Illinois in the game. But Cohn played a little bit last year, was underwhelming, and Graham Mertz was their top freshman coming in. They were excited that he was going to be kind of maybe Isaiah Williams to Illini fans and win the job, but Cohn has just been efficient. He's avoided mistakes. He's been very accurate. They do a lot of dink and dunk, but when you got that kind of rushing game, you can. And Quintez Cephas, who missed last year, had an alleged assault, but that was dropped, and he got back in the university. He's an all Big Ten caliber wide receiver, so their receiving game is definitely better. And tight end Jake Ferguson's one of the best in the Big Ten.
So what we're trying to say is Wisconsin does everything good.
They're good. Well, and we haven't even talked, I'm sure we will. Their defense is way better than their offense. Their defense is the best in the country, and that's why they have taken it to the next level this year.
Definitely the best team that Illinois will see, the best team Illinois fans will see in person this year is Wisconsin. But Illinois, on the other hand, last year their running game carried them 243-yard average. They haven't even got to that once this season, so they need to get that going. But like Jeremy just said, this is the toughest defense they're going to face all year.
No doubt about that. The top-ranked scoring defense in the country. It's incredible what they've been able to do this year. We are live on Facebook. Thanks to Mac for tuning in. He says Wisconsin by 20. If it's only 20 today, I think a lot of Illini fans would feel pretty good about that. Last check, the line was at 30, 31, somewhere around there. It started at the 25, 26 number. I think it raised up because there's so many people that jumped in on that action. But like you mentioned, Illinois was held under 100 yards rushing for the second game in a row against Michigan. For the year, averaging 146.7 yards rushing per game, nearly 100 yards less than their 243 from last year, like Craig mentioned. And when you can't run the ball and when you can't stop the run, you've got some big-time issues on your team, and that's where the Illini find themselves 6 games into the year.
It's not like we forgot how to run and block. I mean, there's a lot of things, you know. So I just think teams are trying to make you throw the football a little bit more to beat them because it's a numbers game.
We got to clean a lot of things up, and I wouldn't say it's a lot. It's probably some of the little things, guys falling off blocks late, and just picking up the different looks they give us. So I think we're getting very, very close, and we can't go on those jittery spurts. We got to be able to play an entire football game. So I think that's what's most important for us.
All right, guys, I'll leave it as simple as this. How does Illinois figure out a way to establish the run and get Reggie Corbin back to what he was last year, if it's even possible?
Yeah, that was the talk all offseason, is that this running game has everyone back, except for Nick Allegretti, but you bring in Richie Pettibone, who came from Alabama, and you're expecting this running game to take a step forward, but they haven't. What's the issue there?
I think there's many issues. I think number one is your quarterback. A.J. Bush is one of your best rushers, one of the best quarterback rushers in the country last year. And that was the question is your passing game going to be enough to overcome that? And it hasn't been. Brandon Peters and that crew haven't played well enough the last couple weeks. Also, Reggie Corbin, I think we all kind of expected, are all those big runs going to duplicate itself this year? That's going to be hard to do. That hasn't. He's been effective in some games, but teams also are really focused on him. I think the offensive line actually has been good, but they haven't been nearly as good as maybe last year. So I think they've been good enough to be good in the Big Ten, but defenses know what's coming right now. And that's why it was nice to see against Michigan. Ron Smith had a really good third quarter, fourth quarter calling plays. And I thought he got really creative, and we saw some different things, tunnel screens, that got that passing game going a little bit. But Dre Brown, I think, needs to be a bigger factor. He runs hard. He runs well. I think he's got more burst than any running back right now on the team. So running game has got to get going, but the passing game's got to get going to help that out, too, and open things up.
Yeah, and Rod said in his Monday presser availability to us that Minnesota at times was putting 8, close to 9 in the box. So teams are going to do that until Matt Robinson or Brandon Peters beats him over the top. Yep. And Peters, like you said his stats earlier, he has not been good through the air the last 2 games he's played, 3 games he's played.
Yeah, and they're getting after the quarterback too, right? So they're putting on pressure on him. That means you got to win one-on-one battles. And for me, that means target Josh Imatorbhebhe because he's winning a lot of them. Even against a great defense like this, I think he can do it. I think he's proven himself that maybe he can play at the next level. Ricky Smalling had a bad game against Minnesota, but I thought he bounced back a little bit last week. You're missing Trayvon Sidney, but I still think you can get Daniel Barker more involved. I think Donnie Navarro and Dominic Stampley have come alive a little bit. So it's about the quarterback delivering those throws, though, because I think the receivers have had some opportunities that they've missed.
Yeah, and we're talking running backs here. Obviously, you got Reggie and Dre, but Chase Brown came in last week. As expected, he didn't see any action in the offense, but he was in the run game. But he's a guy that can add some more depth to an already deep room. Yeah,
I think running backs is a position of strength moving forward. You know, Rayvon Bonner has some tough runs in the goal line, not having as good of a year as he had last year. Shakari Norwood has come back. He's healthy. He didn't play a lot the last couple weeks because I think Dre Brown's added a lot to them. I don't think Chase Brown's going to play much running back because he hasn't repped. I mean, they didn't expect him to play at all this year, so he hasn't taken any reps from those guys who are actually going to play. But he's played some special teams, had a good kick return the other day, but they have a decision to make. Do you want to redshirt him completely, or do you want to play him for the last 6 games and see if he has like a minimal role on this team? So it'll be interesting to see how they use him moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. We are 39 minutes from kick on the game clock here. The Illini are out on the field doing their warm-ups right now. So we're getting close, Brett, to kickoff here for Illinois and Wisconsin.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, with redshirting Chase Brown, look, he missed the first 5 games of the year, came in and played that 6th game. We broke that news on the Your Illini Nation pregame show last week leading up to Michigan. And Lovie Smith and the team just talked about, look, what can be his role if there is going to be a role for the rest of the year leading up to the last 6 games. And he's certainly going to be a factor in the future for this Illinois program. But here's what the team had to say about Chase Brown's role the rest of the year.
What he can do to help us immediately is kickoff return and the special teams. So he could definitely get in that. It's going to take a little bit for him to get adjusted up to speed with us, but it does give us another back. Hopefully he can help us before the season's over.
I'm excited for him. It's it's not ideal for it to be in the middle of the season, but he's just grateful for the opportunity to showcase what he can do.
Certainly will be a big factor for Illinois moving forward, but as of right now, Chase Brown mainly just delegated to the special teams unit for the Illini. Certainly a great story for his brother Sidney and the chance to play together with him and getting the waiver, at least getting a taste of what it's like to be an Illini this season is good for both Chase and Sidney Brown. All right, earlier this week, Illinois also announced it is heading to Ireland in 2021. They will play Nebraska, moving a game that was originally scheduled for November to a week 0 game in August, and they will play in Dublin, Ireland against the Huskers. I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this and kind of where we're at with the fan base, the media base. Obviously, I think we're excited because we get a chance to go to Ireland and cover an Illinois team. We'll get to you guys in just a moment, but for the guys on the team, they talked about this opportunity and getting a chance to go overseas, certainly an opportunity that you're not going to get all that often, and for them, a huge educational experience, among other things.
The national stage that playing in week 0 will afford Illinois football, I think, is significant. All eyes in the college football world will be on us in that weekend. I think it's a great opportunity for us to promote Illinois football.
When we saw the mayor come in, we're like, who's this guy? With the chain and stuff, and we're like, and then when he started speaking, we were like, oh, okay. And it was just, we were just all grateful for the opportunity to go to Dublin and, explore their culture and just learn about them.
Illinois and Nebraska from Dublin, Ireland in 2021. We just learned about it this week. Josh Whitman said he's been working on this for a couple of years. He loves the opportunity. What do you guys think? Is this a good thing for Illinois moving forward to dump a home game and play over the pond?
That's certainly been the question for fans, is if they want to lose that home game here to go to Ireland where they're not going to get to watch. But before we get to Ireland, as excited as we are about that, just some late-breaking news. Ray Bonner, a late scratch from the lineup today. So we were just talking about Chase Brown. Don't know that he'll be the guy to get those reps, but without Bonner, someone else has to.
I think a bigger back makes sense. Kenyon Sims showed he had a nice camp. I think he might get some reps today, but again, I'd feed Dre Brown.
Yes.
I think Dre Brown's been really good. He's good in the goal line. He can break some long runs, so I'd like to see him get 12, maybe 15 touches today.
Yeah, I agree with that. So talk about Ireland now. Kind of came out of nowhere for me. I don't know that many people expected it. Kind of unique.
Yeah, Whitman asked me, did you get any sniff of this? And I said, no. So you guys did a really good job keeping on the wrap. Been working on this for 2 years. And listen, yes, I get Illinois fans, you're upset about your program right now. And it felt like some of the response to this was about how upset they are about the program. Well, Ireland, that's a gimmicky thing. I think Josh Whitman's just thinking about his players. I think he's thinking about being able to be on a national spotlight in week 0. I think it's a great experience for the players. It's a great experience for media who get to travel there, so I'm looking forward to it. I think if anybody can be upset, it's local businesses. I think that's where it affects them the most. Hotels, restaurants, you're losing a lot of money there. So I can understand why they would be upset. Fans, well, the attendance here hasn't been that great. Nebraska's been outnumbering Illinois fans the last couple times they've played here. But I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I'm for it. I understand there's some downside to it for local fans and especially local businesses, but I think it's great for the players, great for the program.
Yeah, for sure. And the teams that go over there, Notre Dame's going over. I know they're the Fighting Irish, so that kind of fits. Boston College, Georgia Tech's gone. So some other programs are doing this. And like Jeremy said, I agree with everything he said. It's a great opportunity for this program. Week 0 teams, there are only a handful of teams that are playing on week 0, and Illinois is going to be one of them.
Men's basketball gets to go to Italy. Women's basketball gets to go to Australia. Softball just went over to Europe. They get those opportunities. Football rarely does. So I'm all for it for these kids.
Yeah, for sure. Brett, who's going to be taking the trip, you or me?
I don't know. I might have to figure that out. Well, hopefully we'll be able to go, right? Rich, can you hook us up with that, our news director? I think we'll figure out a way to get that in the budget. Maybe we'll take the WCIA 3 Learjet, Craig. We can both go. How about that?
Yeah.
No, all right, here. We're counting down to kickoff. We got a couple of minutes left here on the Your Illini Nation pregame show as we get ready for Illinois and number 6 Wisconsin. Ben, if we can throw up that graphic here. Here is the matchup that we've got today. At last check, Illinois 30.5-point underdogs today against the Badgers. So if they can even cover the spread, I think that'd be a win for most people today, over under at 52. And we'll see. I mean, this is not a game that Illinois is favored to even compete in. And Victoria weighs in on Facebook saying, always ILL, David and Goliath. Yeah, I think that's safe to say that this is a David and Goliath matchup. Wisconsin, one of the best teams in the country. Now, maybe you can look at this and say they are looking ahead to next week and a trap game for the Badgers. They play Ohio State next week in what will most likely be a preview of the Big Ten championship game that first week in December between Ohio State and Wisconsin from the East and West, but there's still games to be played. We got to get to that point first, and so let's see what Illinois does today. All right, guys, final word from the field and from the stadium today. What do you guys think? Can we just leave it at this? Does Illinois cover today?
I think the line was 31 at my last check. That's a big line. What's up? Yeah. We got Isaac Trotter trying to butt in on our conversation here. Maybe eventually, Isaac. 31-point line here. Wisconsin, we've mentioned it before. Best team Illinois is going to face. We said earlier, too, no moral victories, but today I think you can get a moral victory if it's close.
Yeah, tick game in the fourth quarter being competitive. By the way, another note, Tony Adams starting at cornerback today for Illinois. He's been playing safety, had a lot of corner injuries, and really had to start Devin Witherspoon there, had to start Jartavius Martin, who's really struggled, so Tony Adams goes there. I think if you go into the fourth quarter with a competitive game, in this singular game, that's a win for Illinois. Now, you want to raise the bar for this program at some point, but given what they've done so far this year, you'd like to do better than that. But realistically, this game is in the fourth quarter. I think Illinois will feel better about itself going into a huge road game at Purdue next week.
Yeah, 31, I think, as Vegas is, I think that's pretty close. I think Wisconsin's going to be able to get to that pretty early. We'll see if Illini can hang on, maybe have a second-half comeback like they did last week against Michigan. For Craig Choate here on the field, Jeremy Werner on the field, Brett, we'll send it back to you. Catch all of our coverage on WCIA and IlliniInquirer.com later tonight.
Guys, thanks so much. The Illini Nation pregame show before Wisconsin winding down here as we're about 30 minutes from kickoff. I just heard they announced the starting lineups there at the stadium. And like we mentioned, Tony Adams moves from safety to cornerback. He has played cornerback in the past, but that's a big change for the Illini and a secondary that desperately needs some help. Marquez Beeson would have been a huge factor this year for the Illini, but of course he tears his ACL in preseason camp and not available, missing his true freshman year. All right, that's going to do it for the Illini Nation pregame show as we head to the field in Wisconsin, catch the game here coming up in about 30 minutes. And then like Craig mentioned, we'll have all the coverage, including the post-game press conference about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Same thing on our digital channels here. Tune in for that. We'll hear from Lovie Smith and then more from the players. Craig will have a report coming up tonight at 6 and 10. But for now, thanks for watching the Illini Nation pregame show. We'll do it again next week as we head on the road. Illinois plays at Purdue at 11 a.m. Central Time. That is a winnable game for Illinois. We'll see if they can keep it close today against the 6th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.